Welcome back to Good Morning, LaLa. And we are so excited about being transformed. Amazing, right? So Remi Adeleke, is that right?
Good, perfect.
Is in the house. He has an extraordinary story of a journey to really overcoming so many things.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my dad, he was a well-known Nigerian engineer, and he engineered one of the first man-made islands in the world. And because of his success, I was born into wealth. I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth. But long story short, in 1987, the Nigerian government stripped our family of all of our financial assets. Wow. So we went from rich, traveling the world, nannies, cars, drivers, to poor. And my mom being an American, I tell people all the time, my mom and dad's story is a true coming to America with Eddie Murphy story. My mom met my dad at a museum in New York because she was in New York, and then she was whisked off and got married 5 months later to Africa. And so when my dad died, my mom was just like, there's no way I'm raising my kids here in Nigeria. So that's when we moved to the Bronx.
Wow.
That's incredible. So what happened then?
I grew up in the Bronx, and, as time passed, I got involved in a lot of nefarious activity, just being influenced by culture and the environment. And, I started out stealing from my mom, and then that progressed to stealing from jobs, that progressed to selling drugs, and that progressed to running high-level scams. And by the time I was 19, I was running an illegal enterprise that I had built with illegal money. And I hit rock bottom. I got involved in a deal with a drug dealer that went bad. I sold him some products that were supposed to last for a certain amount of time. They only lasted for a fraction of that time, and he threatened my life. And that was my wake-up call. That was my, okay, you need to get out of this life or you're gonna end up dead or in prison. And so I made him his money back, and then after that, for 6 months, I did absolutely nothing. I just laid around the house and heard my mom say, get out of my house and get a job. And one day I heard this voice speak to me and tell me, you need to get out of here. You need to join the military. And that I kind of battled with that for a bit, and then eventually I decided, okay, why not? What else do I have left? I have nothing left.
So is that what really transformed your life, that decision to be a Navy SEAL?
Yeah, it played a huge role. There were so many different transformations, and that's why I labeled the book Transform, because I have the Africa piece of the Bronx piece. But yeah, this was a huge transformation for me, going from what I did in the Bronx to now getting ready to go into the SEAL teams, going to special operations. And there's a story in and of itself, because I had to be snuck into the Navy because I had warrants out for my arrest. Wow. And this recruiter, she died 4 years later. And she's my angel, because she took a chance on me by sneaking me into the military and getting my record expunged so I could join the military.
Wow.
And that's how I got in.
So Transform. So as a spiritual, I'm a doctor of divinity, and we teach that basically doing the healing, a soul work, really getting clear there. But then it comes down to discipline. It comes down to habits. It comes down, and I think that the Navy is great, and I think that so many people need to go to boot camp.
Absolutely,
they're lazy as ass, and they need to if they really want that dream, what is it going to take the discipline to actually fulfill upon? So what has the Navy done for you as far as breaking through and getting to the next level that you could explain to people what that does for your life?
I mean, I think you said it, it really gave me the foundational principles of discipline. When I wanted to be a SEAL, there were 3 issues with that. I couldn't swim, I didn't have the academic scores, and I was skinny. And so what I had to do was I had to make a conscious decision that, I have these deficiencies as it relates to my dream, and I have to make a choice. Do I either allow those deficiencies to keep me from my dream, or do I do the extra hard work in order to attain my dream? And so I began to grow my discipline. And a lot of it comes from my mom. When me and my brother were kids, my mom did a great job of instilling within us the importance of whatever you do it right the first time. Whatever you do it with excellence. Follow through, keep your word. And so when it came time for me to train to be a SEAL, I kind of had some great foundational principles. And then when I went to SEAL training, which was the worst thing I've ever been through in my life.
God. What was that like?
It was horrible. I mean, the class I graduated with, just to put it into perspective, started out with 270 guys and only 29 of us graduated.
Whoa.
And I think I was the 50th African-American in the history of the SEAL teams, because there are not that many African-Americans. And so it was torturous. I mean, they torture you with the cold.
Torture you.
They torture you with mind games. I mean, they throw everything at you in the kitchen sinks.
Remi, you've clearly been transformed. But what is it that you want your legacy to be?
It's funny. I got that question the other day, and that I inspire people. That's a big thing for me, because I just want people to see the potential within them. So often, and we allow failure to define us. And when you read this book, you will see that this book is nothing but a book of failures. I could have wrote it point B story where it's, yeah, I'm a Navy SEAL, I'm missions, I'm this, but 99.9% of people on the face of this planet will never ever be a SEAL, right? But 99.9% of people will fail at some point in their life. And what I want people to get away from this book and from my life and my story is this concept that, never let failure define you and define your future. Instead, find the lessons within that failure to prepare you for the future. So
I love that.
love
Did
that.
you find, so a lot of artists, I'd say, and writers are probably the worst critic, right?
Oh,
Did you find that in writing the book, you had to apply that lesson in order to finish the book?
No, I absolutely did. Because this was the first thing I wrote, and there's a whole story behind that because I wasn't supposed to be a writer on the book, but my mom was. But when I read the first 2 chapters, I was just like, this is not my voice. It's not who I am. And what was keeping me from writing it was fear. This fear of, I can't do it, I can't do that. But, as I started writing, took over and started the writing process, I did make mistakes, but I was able to hold on to that principle. I'm learning from those mistakes. I'm moving forward and getting better, and now we have what we have.
So I have another kind of side note question. You're married, you have children,
3 boys.
and I'm curious to know how much the discipline plays into having a successful family and relationship.
Oh, 100%, because it's so easy, especially, being a writer, being an actor, and being in business. It's so easy to get caught up in that and forsake my family, right? And I was on a plane flying from New York the other day and sitting next to this guy who's a multimillionaire, and he's part of this organization where in order to be a part of it, you have to be worth at least $70 million. And he said to me, Remi, there are a lot of people in my group, in this business group that I'm a part of, and I find that the most wealthiest guys within the group are the guys that were so disciplined that they spent the right amount of time with their family. And the guys who are still millionaires, but not billionaires or trillionaires, if that even exists, are the guys who spent the least amount of time with their family. And he associated this concept of, if you can be disciplined with your family, then you'll be even more disciplined as it relates to business.
They've actually found that. I don't have that study, but I've heard that your relationship, your intimate relationship, actually plays into the success of your business.
Yeah.
And so I do think that we need to have that balance. So thank you so much for being a demonstration and a role model for that.
Thank you. I'm trying.
And also tell them where they can find you. And also I want to find out about how you start your day with your scripture.
Oh yeah. I wake up and I memorize scriptures. So I memorize scriptures in the Bible, and so I just go over them in my mind, and then I'll read them, and then I just pray. Just try to get centered and just remember that everything is in the Lord's hands, and regardless of what happens, He has me covered.
Nice.
And
Amen.
yeah, take it from there. But you can find me on Remi Adeleke, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Hit me up.
Everywhere.
Amazing.
What's up, guys?
Thank you so much.
Great work.
We are Good Morning LaLa,
Congratulations.
America's first live streaming daily talk show, coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Also available on Apple TV and Roku on EverTalk TV.
We are waking up the world together. Have a beautiful Monday, you guys. Like, share, comment, subscribe to the people that inspire you.
It's going to be a good morning, La La Land.